Welcome to The Printer's Edge with LaManna, a podcast about how to sell, buy, or build a printing business. Now here are your hosts, LaManna and Ken Okel.
Welcome to the Printer's Edge podcast presented by the LaManna Alliance. Hi, I'm Ken Okel. So glad to have you with us again. In just a moment, we are going to go to a live recording of the podcast that we recently did at the Graphics of the Americas Expo. We held a session called Big Idea Strategies. I think you're going to like it because we kind of had more of a discussion about some of those major issues that are probably keeping a few of you up late at night. Just a reminder, a thanks to everyone who has subscribed to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. When you do that, you never miss an episode. All right, let's go to the recording. So, Rock, this session is called Boom, Big Idea Strategies. We thought it would be good to take a big picture look at the printing business and how people may be able to make some better decisions moving ahead. One of the things we thought was a big issue for people was the whole issue of succession.
Yes.
What's your thoughts about that?
Well, if anyone's got succession experience, it's our family. I'm one of 11 children. My mother and my father had a print business in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it took us about 5 years of putting our succession plans together through communications throughout the family. And there were a lot of people involved besides therapists, priests, the family, husbands, wives, outlaws. So it's very interesting. So the process took about 5 total years to put it all together, and a lot of communication, a lot of effort, and a huge timeline. Never expected that. So succession is very important, especially to the baby boomers of today, and those are the people that I work with. Ideally, are entrepreneurs looking at a succession plan. So timelines are very, very important, and just to understand the whole process.
When should someone start to think about succession? I mean, is it a 5-year process, a 3-year, 6 months?
You really can't put time on it because it's always up to the individual. What is the individual looking for? And in some cases, like some of our customers, they have partnerships. They have partnerships. You have multiple people, multiple families deciding on which way they're going to go. And that becomes very, very strategic and very emotional. And at times what we try to do is put it all into a package where it's more logical. But it's really a caregiving process. So when you really talk about time, I would underestimate it. It used to be maybe 12 months was kind of like the given.
Sure.
But today, I would say it's more 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Yep.
But it makes sense. There's a lot, and as you were saying before, it's not just always the business issues, but sometimes there's some emotional issues of the heart, things you got to work out.
And it's also the next generation. How interested are they in participating in the future of the business? Because many times the founder was passionate about the business, and they spent 30, 40, 50 years on the business. All of a sudden, a son or a daughter or a relative comes in and says, you know what, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I have situations like that where the families are united. However, some of the next generation is not interested in the business. So that gets to be very interesting, and we always start with some type of understanding of the value of the business.
Sure.
And the future and the potential of the business is always a big issue, and what the options are. Because usually the family or the baby boomer is looking to exit because time is up, and it's their livelihood, it's their baby, and then what is the potential of the business and what is the interest of the succession of the business? Because there could be some family members, like in our case, some family members in our family were interested in carrying on and some were not. And so we had to kind of match that all together. But the biggest decision was my parents and their intent to try to be fair to the whole family about actually finding your own purpose in life. And that's what business is all about. And your purpose in life is what is your role and what's going to make you passionate and inspired to carry on for another 40 years, whatever that may be.
That's a definite boom, I think.
Boom.
Let's get to the next issue here. Rock, we were talking a lot about what are things that keep people up at night? What makes them lose sleep? And I think often it gets to, there's a couple of things, but talent and sales seem to be things that come up a lot. So maybe talk about what people might want to think in those areas.
Well, it's a hot topic right now because mergers and acquisitions, it's a great time to sell your business if you're organized. If you're unorganized, people are looking at, well, what should I have done the first 25, 30 years of my life?
Yeah.
And I would say of our clients, most clients are operations-based people or engineered-based people, maybe even innovative-type people, and don't have the marketing skills, the marketing talent, and the sales. Sales is a different ball game, and if you're in the family business, the family's always trying to kind of push that family member into a area that might not be their skill set.
Sure.
Or have the education or the interest. Because to be in sales, it's like an athlete. You have to build yourself up, you have to educate yourself, you have to condition yourself, and sales is a lot of rejection.
Yep.
And if you don't have a game plan, and this is where I really believe in Vern Harnish's methods of how to really be a successful entrepreneur. And there's 4 areas. That's people.
Yep.
You need a strategy. And let's face it, most entrepreneurs do not have a strategy. A documented strategy that's been communicated to the rest of the organization.
They're just living day by day because you get busy with the day-by-day activities and all of a sudden you have no time for strategy, but you got to do it.
And the other thing here is if you're going to lose sleep, it's because you don't know the next step, okay? And then the third area is the execution. Because if you don't have a strategy, or if you do have a strategy, who's going to execute it?
Yep.
Because changes are happening all the time, and it takes a specialist, just like in football. You have a quarterback, you have a center. Everyone's got its role and their specialty. And then at the same time, what do they always say about football? You have to execute. It might take one play, it might be lucky, but you always have to execute and actually know when to succeed and carry on. Because a business in the printing business, for 40 years, you have ups and downs, and you have constant change. And the fourth area that's underestimated by most entrepreneurs that I know, it's cash. It's money. A lot of people underestimate the fact that you need the financing to invest in the company, whether it's talent, whether it's equipment, whether it's a strategy, execution, and people run enterprises. People run businesses. So understand that when you select your team, many clients that I have may know how to start up a business because they're passionate about it, they're excited about it, and they have to sell it to the other people, to recruit other people to fulfill that contract or fulfill that dream. And it takes many, many years of achieving that type of a situation. So when you lose sleep, you constantly lose sleep, and it could be over a presentation, it could be over sales, it could be over a lost employee.
Yep. Loss of talent.
There's just so many different things. And don't forget, most entrepreneurs also have a life.
Sure.
They have a family. They have a spouse. They have other issues besides running a business. And, you know, having a life and having a career, having a personal career, everyone's got that type of fulfillment and purpose in life. But at the same time, an entrepreneur takes a lot of courage, a lot of fortitude, a lot of discipline, a lot of patience, and it takes years. I believe it's Steve Jobs said, it took me 40 years or 20 years to be an overnight success.
It's very true.
And that's how I look at Steve Jobs. I look at Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was all about selecting the right people and so on. So it's very exciting for me to see the way people grow their business and to really become an entrepreneur, because not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. And you have to identify that too, to see if you really love the game. Because like athletes, they have to love the game to be able to compete, to be able to get up every morning and to participate in the game. Because business is just a game. That's
Sure.
it. And you might as well enjoy what you're doing. That's the way I look at it. And that's basically my response.
Just a reminder, we are doing a live recording of the Printer's Edge podcast from the Graphics of America Expo. That's why you may hear some background noise. Our studio has not been invaded by hundreds or thousands of people. Glad to be here for today. Rock, one question that we were talking about the other day. When you look back at your career, often you gain a new perspective. You think about decisions that you might have been able to have made, choices that maybe didn't quite work out. If you were to look back over your career, what advice do you think you would give yourself if you could do it all over again?
The wish and the hope was, I wish I was 20 years younger. You can't bring that back. But for what I did spend, I had a very unique situation. I had a family of generational entrepreneurs, so I saw it. And being one of 11 kids, our printing business was our farm.
Sure.
And we had 3 shifts, 350 employees. My father was never home. I was brought up working. And summers, you were working. I wasn't out playing baseball or had the opportunity. But when I look back at the education that I got, and the feeling of even looking back when I was in grade school, my background was more about sports. And I wanted to be an athlete. Well, of course, it didn't happen. But my passion was sports. But I could say in 7th and 8th grade, I kind of realized, well, if I'm not going to be an athlete, I want to be a businessman. So I concentrated on the business aspect of it, but I conditioned myself through a formal education and a non-formal education and surrounded myself with coaches. So I got great mentorship, and I also worked with clients as I matured and got more experience underneath my belt. I was more interested in marketing and sales. And after 20, 30 years of doing what I'm doing, which is the first 25 years of my 40-plus year career has been manufacturing.
Yep.
And manufacturing, I learned from the best. Besides my father, I learned from 3M Company, because 3M,
oh, wow, 3M
was our #1 customer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And what did 3M really push all those years? Innovation. New products, 65,000 new products that we had access to, because we were 6 miles away from the 3M headquarters in St. Paul, Minnesota. They had 9 process engineers, R&D people, PhDs, creating products such as film. I look out here at the GOA, there's not too many things that I haven't seen.
Sure.
And I was exposed to them by 3M, because they would bring in Scotch print, they would bring in special films, they would bring in special adhesives, they'd bring in automotive products, they'd bring in medical products, and everything was either printed or converted. And those pieces of equipment today are still in existence.
That's innovation.
The innovation of today is really software.
Yeah.
Software design, but the real key, and when you look at a 3M today at $30+ billion, it's all about sales and marketing. They develop products, but they also develop markets that you've never touched before. Another issue of going back 20, 30 years, I'd come to a trade show such as a GOA 2018. I would see 3M have a huge booth here with salespeople and technical people, show examples of what the future is.
Sure.
Now, I go to the ISA, the GSA, SGIA, I go to the GOA. Who's walking the convention centers? The financial people of 3M looking for the next best investment. And that could be software, it could be people,
Yep.
it could be something that no one else sees. It's kind of like watching Shark Tank. People watch Shark Tank, those people know they got the ideas, they're bringing in the ideas, and all of a sudden they go, wow. Mark Cuban says, man, I want a piece of that action.
Yep.
You could see it when they say, I'm willing to invest in you and your new product because they see something that no one else sees.
You see the excitement
when
they realize you've got something and they want to be a part of it to make it bigger. Makes a lot of sense.
So it takes a lot, just like any other athlete. You have to be passionate, and this is a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur is a long-term commitment. You have a lot of ups and downs. You have a lot of sleepless nights, but you have a lot of joy. You have a lot of fulfillment. You can help people. There's so much going on in entrepreneurism that's why I'm excited. After 43 years, I'm still going.
Well, that's the thing. I think when you're engaged in something that you're doing and you're having fun, you're working, but it's a passion.
Yeah, it's not work.
Good.
And that's one thing I noticed about my father. It wasn't work, and I saw him get up every day and run those stairs because we had 3 stories of operations. And by the way, my father's 92 years old yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
And my mother, still alive.
Yeah.
10 brothers and sisters. And some of them are still in the next succession of the new buyer, are still at the family business.
That's awesome.
After Vomella's been in business over 70 years, and LaManna's been there since 1948.
That is staying power.
You got it.
So, Rock, did we want to talk about our giveaway for today?
Well, one thing I've learned in the last 10 years, my products are constantly evolving because my clients evolve.
Yes.
Everything's customized. I work with individuals, I work with partnerships, I work with executives, I work with private equity, I work with large manufacturers of different types of materials and so on. Well, one thing that I'm finding out that's more and more consistent, along with social media, some people are involved with statistics, analytics, and this information is out there. It's tremendously valuable. People such as the 3M companies and so on, they live off of financial information, growth, history, they call it data, big data, and analytics and so on. So we have a couple of things here from the PBBA, which is Vince Millardi's association, which is very, very valuable. People underestimate it, and it's basically available, and it's very inexpensive. And Vince Millardi writes for Printing Impressions. He writes for the PBBA.org. He writes for us as a guest. And this information is so valuable, as you can see it here. This is 50 years worth of data and information that people underestimate, that it's at their fingertips. And it's for people that are looking to grow their businesses through strategies. And through strategies means the PBBA stands for Print Buyers and Brokerage Association. And it's a PBBA.org. This information in the past would be $10,000.
Yeah, it was huge.
Today you could get it free in certain areas, or become a member of the PBBA and get a PDF copy of it. But we have a couple copies here that are very valuable for people that are looking to grow their business through analytics, understand who the big players are. And by the way, all the big players are in here. And if you want to compete in the real world, you better know what your competition is doing. And the beauty about entrepreneurism is the flexibility of being quick, speed to market, get somewhere where you need to get, much sooner than a 3M per se.
Yeah.
All right. But support, strategic alliances. There's nothing unavailable in today's marketplace. People call me constantly for different ideas that I don't specialize in, but I know where to get the information. After 43 years, I know where to get the equipment. I know where to get used equipment. I know where to hire the right people. We have a project, for an example, going on right now, specialty coding information. Someone calls me, Rock, I heard your name. I hear you're the guy and so on. Yeah, okay, fine. Some of the questions I ask, how big is the market size? How big is your client? You need to get as much information and ask as much information as you can before you start educating someone about the opportunity. But don't forget where the benefit is. The benefit is where the customer is. You're solving a problem. You're solving a problem, and the hope is that you're loyal. You're loyal to these people, you work with them, and when we talked about customers, the key for an entrepreneur is people. Your own people. Make sure you take care of your people. That's one thing my father taught me, was the people get paid first. The people get paid first. You take care of the people, and things will happen because they become so loyal to you because you're doing the right thing. And the three words my father would use basically is faith, family, and fortitude. You just got to keep on going. And you got to be loyal to your people and just do the right thing. So that's basically what I wanted to say.
Yeah, so I think we're good to do it through our booth.
Yep, 1502, the GOA 2018. Stop by and see us. Very excited to talk business. I love talking business. Like to hear your story. You heard some of my story, and I love to be able to hear what people have to say, and everything is constantly strictly confidential. It's very important, and I understand the process. I could speak your language, so I've been there. I've done it all. Turnarounds, growth strategies, we're working with international companies, breaking down doors at 3M. It's just been a wonderful career.
Excellent. Well, I guess as we start to wrap up this episode of the Printer's Edge podcast, just a reminder, if you want to get in touch with me, my name is Ken Okel. You can reach me at tvguy@kenokel.com as we pose for a picture there. Yeah. All right. And Rock, what's the best way for people to reach you?
First of all, the best way to reach me, meet me in the marketplace, Rock LaManna. But we already went through rock@rocklamanna.com, my email, rock@rocklamanna.com, Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm in the marketplace.
So as we close this show off, I guess we should say, as we always do, see you in the marketplace.
This is the Prince's Edge with Rock LaManna. Thanks for listening.